Hi there, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and blog. I hope you're having a great day. Today I am showing you the July 2018 My Monthly Hero kit, and I don't know if it's still available, but it's a beautiful kit, and I'm going to show several cards using that one today. So it comes with some ribbon, a couple different ribbons there, a yellow or a red and a blue. And it also comes with a 6x8 clear stamp set, all carnival themed. They're so cute. A lot of good silhouette ones and also some really good ones that you can color. Cute little ones with so many great sentiments. It comes with 10 coordinating frame cuts. And it also comes with one 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 fancy die, which I love. And then it also comes with this little pack. It comes with 3 4x6 chipboard postcards, which are very sturdy. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those yet, but they're cute. And it also comes with 3 ink cubes. It comes with one in Unicorn Pigment White, Red Reactive, and Blue Reactive. Let's go ahead and get started with card number 1. I'm just going to take various images from the stamp set, and I am going to stamp those out using the 2 colors that came in the kit, along with a few other Hero Arts inks that I have from other kits. And I'm going to stamp each of those images in all the different colors and I'm not sure which, at this point, what images I'm going to use, so I'm just stamping them all out. So let me just say that this stamp set brings me back to my childhood all the way through my high school years. I grew up in rural Nebraska, and so every year we looked forward to the Sarpy County Fair, and this stamp set just brings back so many memories. I would enter things into the 4-H, and my brother would perform with our high school swing choir, and the song that he would sing, he was so talented, still is, and he would sing Farmer Tan. So that's the one song that I remember from them singing in the Sarpy County Fair, and it was just, I don't know, funny. So I'll get back to that later, but I'm going to continue stamping here, and I'm not going to show you all the footage because it's a lot of stamping, but I stamped them all out, and you will see. After I'm done stamping all of those images out, I plan to die cut them. So I am just lining up all the dies, the coordinating dies that go with these, and I'm using some micropore tape to tape those down, and I'm going to run that through my Big Shot several times. I have put all the die cut images into their separate piles, and now I'm just going to start lining those up how I think I want them onto a cardstock base, which is Neenah's Desert Storm cardstock, and it is a top folding A2 size card. So it was originally a 4 1/4 by 11-inch piece that I scored at 5 1/2 inches, and then just used my bone folder to crease that down. When I was happy with the placement, I ended up using my phone to take a picture of how it all looked, so that way I could start assembling my card. Before doing that, though, I had decided that I wanted to take the little stars stamp that came in the stamp set, and I wanted to ink that up with the Unicorn Pigment ink, and I wanted to stamp that all over the background, just doing various ways across, not lining it up perfectly, but just kind of stamping it down. And they're all just different, and they're not very evenly spaced either, but I just wanted some interest in the background. So I let that pigment ink dry before I started adhering my different elements, but I am using liquid glue to adhere most of the items, and I'm kind of trying to go in rainbow order. Obviously it's not, exactly that way, but that's kind of what I was going for. And I'm using a little bit of foam tape on just a few of the elements. Most of it is just going to be tacked down with some liquid glue. The Happy Birthday and a few of the other elements are going to be I'm going to use foam tape just because I want those to stand out just a little bit more. But this is the stamping and the die cutting took some time, but otherwise this is a fairly fast card to make. It doesn't require any coloring. It's a cute little design. So many different elements in this that you could just go crazy with. And I had a lot of fun. So once these last couple elements are tacked down with the liquid glue, that's actually going to finish off card number 1. So for card number 2, I'm going to do some ink smushing. I was thinking about food when I made this card because, let's be real, the reason I go to the fair is for food. Pretty much the reason I do just about anything is for food. So I was thinking of popcorn, and so I was trying to, with my ink smushing, come up with a way of kind of making a popcorn background. So I have some Canson XL watercolor paper, 110 pounds, and I squished some squeezed lemonade onto my craft mat, and I smushed my cardstock down into it, and that's just the first layer. And now I'm just going to heat set that, and I'm going to move on to the next layer. For the next layer, I am using fossilized amber, and I didn't really like the lack of control that I was getting with just the ink smushing onto the craft mat. So I have a piece of old packaging, and I have squished the ink onto there, and I spritzed my water onto that, and now I am at least feeling like I have a little bit more control, and so I am going to use that to get my ink back on there. So I'll go back and forth with these two colors until I get the look that I am kind of going for. It doesn't really look like popcorn. It's at least the color of popcorn, but you get the gist. It's at this point that I'm ready to do some stamping. So I have some red cardstock from my stash. I don't know what it is. It's just from my stash. And I'm using my anti-static powder tool because I plan to emboss the images. And I'm using the little snack thing, the Ferris wheel, and the carousel. Now, I was never allowed to ride the rides, but I sure ate the food. So I'm using the Unicorn White Pigment ink to ink up my images, and I will stamp those out, and when I am happy, which is the beauty of the stamp platform, if you're not happy, you just restamp. But once I'm happy with those, I will use my Simon Says Stamp Ultrafine White Embossing Powder to cover up those images, and then I'm going to heat set those. But yeah, I wasn't allowed to ride the rides, which, you know what, honestly, I'm okay with, but I sure ate the food. And the rodeo. The rodeo was my favorite part. I don't know about you guys, but that was my favorite part. Did you guys ever go to the fair? So now I've got all my images lined up with their coordinating dies, and I'm going to run those through my Sizzix Sidekick because I love that thing. And then once I think I have the placement down, I've kind of figured out what I want to do with this background. I am going to use some Simon Says Stamp craft tacky glue to put down the background images, which would be the Ferris wheel and the carousel, because snacks are in the forefront of my mind, so of course the snack thing has to be in the front. And I'm going to use some foam tape to pop that up. Once I've got that popped up, I have cut down some of the red ribbon, and I am going to attach that as well after I stamp my sentiment, and I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black ink because I want this to be good and crisp. So that says hello there. And I'll use the craft tacky glue once again to adhere my ribbon, just because it was there, and it works really well. I haven't noticed any buckling with this ink or with this glue. Of course, you wouldn't want to use a ton of it. I mean, a little goes a long way. It's basically tacky glue. If you've ever used Eileen's, it kind of reminds me a lot of Eileen's tacky glue. And then I will use that again to adhere my card panel down to my card base, which is some Neenah Desert Storm. And that's a top folding A2 size card as well. And that will finish off card number 2. So I sort of screwed up with card number 3 and forgot to hit play. So let me just run through basically what I did. I have a beautiful piece of pattern paper. Well, it's not really pattern paper, it's cardstock, but it has an embossed dot on the background. I don't remember where I got that. I think I got that from an old Simon Says stamp kit. And I have cut that down to an A2 card. And then I took some red cardstock and I used the background die that came with this kit, and I cut out that background die. And then I stamped my images, which would be the roller coaster, just using some Lawn Fawn jet black ink onto some Neenah cardstock. And then I used the coordinating die to cut that out. I had also stamped my sentiment using that same Lawn Fawn jet black ink on the same cardstock as I had the roller coaster. And now I'm just trimming that down and putting little notches on the ends of that to make it look like a banner. And then I will use that craft tacky glue, and I'm going to adhere my back, or my scene onto the back panel. That glue is really nice. It'll give you a little bit of wiggle room, and it won't be tacky after it's done. Once it's down, it's down. To adhere my roller coaster and my sentiment, I plan to use some foam tape to give this a little extra dimension. I think I need to invest in a T-ruler though, because I'm having a little bit of problem keeping things straight. I think I sort of figured it out. You're not really going to notice it too much, but yeah, a T-ruler would be helpful. And so then I've decided, as a last bit of embellishment, I want to use some of these little yellow sequins that I have from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to use that craft tacky glue and my crystal katana, and I'm going to stick those down. I thought that added a nice little touch, a little bit of contrast to the red and the turquoise. And that is going to finish off card number 3. For card number 4, I have pulled out the alcohol inks that I showed in the haul from earlier today. And obviously I have a long way to go. There's quite a learning curve with these. And so this is just probably like super basic stuff. But I have a piece of, actually this is photo paper. And I am using the alcohol inks. I didn't write down the colors. I just kind of grabbed what I thought, what I thought I wanted. And I didn't write that down. But you can see, you kind of have a little bit of a gist as to what these are. Anyway, I just kind of let them go with the alcohol blending solution and just kind of let them flow from one side down to the other and mix a little bit as they touched. And that was that. Like I said, I will come out with a different kind of a video trying to showcase these inks a little bit better because they are a lot of fun. And for my image, I have pulled out some navy cardstock that I had in my stash, and I'm going to use the big silhouette of the fair in the background. And I am going to stamp that using that unicorn white pigment ink again. So I'll use my embossing buddy, and I'm going to ink up the stamp, and I'll stamp it down. And the reason you use the embossing buddy, in case you don't know, is so that you don't get powder where you don't want it. Because that powder will stick to all kinds of things. And here in the Southwest, we have a lot of static electricity. So, because it's awfully dry. So yeah, use that embossing buddy, folks. And then I'll just sprinkle my Simon Says Stamp embossing powder, which is the detail embossing powder, all over the top of that, using my little spoon there. My stepdad likes to call that the pudding spoon. I don't know why, I just think it's cute. Anyway, so I'm fussy cutting out that image, and I end up really not caring for how that looks together. So I decided that I was going to try and stamp that right on top of that glossy paper. And to do that, you're going to need a StazOn ink. Otherwise, the ink will just rub right off. Well, unbeknownst to me, my StazOn ink is quite dry. I thought it was juicy enough because this is a stiff pad. Okay, if you've ever used StazOn ink, you know that the pad is quite stiff. And it looked like I was getting really good coverage. It does dry quickly, I will say that. But I inked it up, at least I thought, pretty well. Stamped it down. It wouldn't have mattered if I had had the stamping platform or not. My ink is just too dry. I need to re-ink it. So obviously that didn't work. Well, I was not going to throw away this piece of paper, so I cut out my image and went back to the original. And I have trimmed down that alcohol inked background, and I'm going to use some liquid glue to adhere that to a Neenah cardstock base. And then I will use a different glue. Don't ask me why. I don't know why I grabbed a different glue. This glue would have worked just fine, but I grabbed a different glue and I glued down my image right over the top of my mistake. So don't give up on, I mean, sometimes you're going to have to throw stuff out every once in a while, but you know, most of the time you can salvage stuff. So keep trying, keep working. And for my sentiment, I just pulled out the Hello sentiment, and I am going to use that blue reactive ink that comes in the kit, and then I will stamp hello. Very simple card for the most part, other than that background, and that'll finish off card number 4. So let's take a look at the 4 cards. This is part 1, so there will be a part 2, and I would love to know which one was your favorite. I always love knowing which ones are your favorites. Kind of gives me a guide as to where to go. But anyway, thank you so much for stopping by, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss part number 2. Thanks, guys.